seriously, why does no one ever talk about this? Let me ask you a question. Have you ever gone for an early morning walk or a drive in the country? Maybe you have even driven through the Hills of Caledon and admired all the beautiful homes on those large estate lots with space between your neighbors and thought, wow, this is how we should all be living. And then you ask about what's the truth? What are the pros and cons of living in a rural area? Forget about being all crammed up, one on top of another, living in the city like Toronto or other large cities here within the GTA, with no yard or having a yard, sitting out back trying to relax but having all your neighbors looking down at you and you being able to look right back at them and even into their homes. Hello there. And don't forget all the people, the traffic, the high cost of living, and the expensive housing costs associated with living in the city. Living in the country on a rural acreage property has lots of perks. Have you ever thought about making the move to the country? Maybe you have even thought about moving to my neck of the woods, moving to Caledon and the surrounding rural areas. Sounds wonderful, but, and yes, there is a but, there are some things about country living that no one ever talks about. As a longtime resident of country living, I just wanted to share 8 facts about rural country living that you need to know, especially if you're thinking about moving to the country. If you are thinking about making a move, you are probably asking the all-important question, why do people move to the country and is it worth it? So let's get into it. The pros and cons of buying a house in a rural area. Let's start with the sparse traffic. Living in the countryside means way fewer cars on the road than in the city. You can often drive for miles without seeing another vehicle. It's so peaceful and way less stressful, especially when you're used to honking horns and navigating busy streets. I often head out for a drive to the store and I may see a few cars along the way. It really makes you appreciate the quiet and open space. Now keep in mind that if you're traveling along a dirt road, there's always less traffic, especially during the spring with all the rain, but the roads get pretty mucky and so does your car. It's hard to keep clean, so if you're moving to the country, you may also want to opt for a home on a paved road. There's also limited public transit. Living in the countryside means you likely won't find any public transportation, no buses or trains like in the city. Things are spread out and the population is low, so the demand for public transit, well, it just isn't there. Most folks around here have their own cars because that's how we get around. For example, when my neighbor's car was in the shop last week, she had to rely on friends for rides because there's no bus route near us. It's just part of rural life to plan a bit more when you need to go somewhere. Heating. Out here in the countryside, we don't have the same heating options as you find in the city. There is limited infrastructure. Yes, in some locations like Caledon East, Caledon Village, Inglewood, Mono, Alton, well, in those areas, you'll find homes a little closer together, like on an acre lot, and you'll find gas heating. But if you are living on a rural road, there will likely be no gas pipelines. So many homeowners use propane tanks or ground source heat pumps to heat their homes and keep them warm. Propane tanks are usually refilled a couple of times a year, and ground source heating, although expensive to install, is very economical in the long term to run as it uses the heat from the earth to keep the home warm. Water. In many rural areas, we don't have city water pipes. Instead, we get our water from wells. Some are shallow dug wells, but others are deep drilled wells that reach far underground. The water from these deep wells is usually really clean and tastes great. You will want to periodically do a water test to make sure it's safe to drink and to check to see if a filter or water softener is needed. Also, it's important to know how much water your well can give. So when buying or moving to a rural property, you'll also want to do a flow rate analysis of the well to make sure there is enough water for the household. But keep in mind, some areas do have municipal water sources. Internet. Living in the countryside can mean that your internet connectivity can be limited. Not all areas have fiber optics or high-speed internet. Once again, you'll want to find out what the internet is like in the area you want to relocate to. Some areas have fiber optics and 5G internet, and others don't. So if you like watching streamed videos, then you'll want to see what's available in your area. Amenities limited or spread out. Rural living means that things like stores, schools, and hospitals aren't just around the corner. They're often a drive away. For example, the closest grocery store to my house is about 13 minutes by car, and the nearest hospital is about 10 minutes away. It's a bit of a trek sometimes, but it also means our community is really close-knit. I can always rely on one of my neighbors for a cup of sugar if I run out. Houses in the countryside are usually less expensive than in the city. This means you can often get a bigger yard and more space for your money. Recently, one of my clients was amazed at the price difference when he moved from the city to our rural area. He ended up with a much larger house for the same price he would have paid for a small upscale condo downtown. It's one of the perks of rural living. You get more bang for your buck. Nature. Living in the countryside offers a front row seat to nature's beauty. Just driving through places like Caledon, you're surrounded by rolling hills, lush forests, and sparkling water features. I always feel a sense of peace as I take in the sights, like the time I had to stop my car to let a large turtle cross the road. It was heading from one pond to another right in front of me. You also get to see all kinds of wildlife like deer, raccoons, wild turkeys on the side of the road, which I just saw the other day, and even horses and cows grazing nearby. It's not just beautiful, it's incredibly calming and great for your mental health. Choosing to live in the countryside has its ups and downs, just like city living. In rural areas, you get more space, a close-knit community, and stunning natural scenery. On the flip side, amenities like shops and hospitals may be farther away, and internet service can be spotty. It's important to think about what matters most to you in your daily life. For those who love peace and nature and a little bit of land, the benefits of rural living are unbeatable. If you're considering a move to Caledon and the surrounding communities, including Erin, Halton Hills, Mono, East Garifaxa, and Agila, the Northwest GTA, and you want to learn more, I have resources that can help. You can ask for my Caledon area relocation guide or set up a 15-minute discovery call with me to dive deeper. I'm Evelyn Lopes from iPro Realty, ready to assist you in exploring rural life. I'll post more information to the materials in the comments below.